Hey everyone, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today's tutorial, this beautiful mermaid wreath. Look at the color and detail in this wreath. This has to be one of my all-time favorites. And I'm thinking the young girl I made this for is going to really love it too. Let me know how you like this one in the comment box below. Okay, let's get busy on this beautiful mermaid wreath. Let's look at the materials we need to make this wreath. These two wood cutout mermaids were from Dollar Tree from the Shore Living line. I'm going to only be using one of those. From the waist up, I'm going to be using scrapbook paper that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. It's a very beautiful, shimmery, sturdy scrapbook paper. And we have some mermaid tails from the same Shore Living from Dollar Tree. I'll be using only one of those. And I got this Deco mesh on Amazon. I'll only be using about 2/3 of one roll. This Deco mesh is going to represent the ocean water. I also picked up a Deco mesh, a smaller, more narrow roll from Hobby Lobby. It was on sale 50% off, and that blue is going to represent the sky. I picked up a 14-inch wire wreath frame from Dollar Tree. I found this ribbon on Amazon, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and it inspired me to make this mermaid wreath. That's how much I love this ribbon. Absolutely gorgeous. 2.5 inches wired ribbon. This one is also from Amazon. The same wired ribbon, 2.5 inches. A very pretty glittery netted pink ribbon. And this pink ribbon as well was from Amazon. And it is a great ribbon on coastal reefs to represent coral. I picked up these pearls on Amazon.com. They're actually half pearls, and there's many different sizes in that container. And I'm going to be using those pearls for the mermaid tail. I also picked up these chunky big pearls at Hobby Lobby. They were 50% off. And I picked up these little iridescent beads at Dollar Tree. Of course, you'll need pipe cleaners, Mod Podge to adhere the scrapbook paper to the mermaid, Snow White Waverly chalk paint to paint the tails of the mermaid, and scissors, hot glue gun, and E6000. Okay, here we have that 14-inch wreath frame that I purchased at Dollar Tree. And the Deco mesh. We're going to start with this. Half of the wreath is going to represent the water of this mermaid wreath. So I gathered the Deco mesh in the middle and secured it with a pipe cleaner. And all of our Deco mesh application is going to be done from the underside of the wreath, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Half of this wreath is going to be covered with that particular Deco mesh you see before you. All right, so let's get busy starting the application of this Deco mesh on this wire wreath form. I'm going to attach the Deco mesh to the wreath, and I'm going to do so by wrapping the pipe cleaners around that crossbar there. It provides more security if you do it right at the crossbar. Okay, so notice that the wreath form is over the top of the Deco mesh, and all of the application of the Deco mesh is going to be from the underside. I'm going to start with the middle space on that wreath form, and I'm going to begin forming my loops by pushing the Deco mesh up through the space, fanning out the sides of the Deco mesh, and then pushing down on the center, And then I am going to go to the next space, which is the outside space. Notice how I fan out the sides of the deco mesh with my fingers, push it down in the center, and when you do that, it forms the loop, but I also notice that I push down on it and it forms a little bit of a curve to the loop, which I think looks kind of like a fortune cookie. So now we're back to the middle mesh. Now what we're going to be doing is going back and forth through the spaces. We just did the middle space. Now we're going to the inner space. Push up that deco mesh through that space. Grab it on the sides. Fan it out with your fingers. See how I'm doing that right there? Push it down in the center. Give it a little bit of a fold, a little fortune cookie look. And this creates more visual interest to the loops on the wreath frame rather than have them flattened, if that makes any sense. I hope so. Okay, now we're in the center space. Fan out that deco mesh, open it up, push it down in the center, fold it over a little bit. Now we're going to the outside space. See how I fan out my deco mesh, form my loop, push it down in the center. I hold it with my fingers there until I go over to the next space, which now we're going back to the middle. So we're going from the outside to the middle to the inner, back to the middle to the outside to the middle, back to the inner. This actually is much easier to do on your lap. This is the way I generally do this wreath, and I can get it done so much faster like that. But I'm doing it on the table here as gracefully as I possibly can so that I can show you and film it for you. So notice that I'm going from one space to the other, and I'm showing you that now. I'm on the inner space now, so now my next space that I go to is the middle. Pull the sides of the deco mesh. Use your fingers to open it up. Push it down in the center. And each time you push your loop up against the previous loop. The wire underneath is holding the deco mesh each time you form a new loop. So it's very secure under there. Open it up. Push it down in the center. Hold it there until you push up your next loop through the next space. This makes a very pretty deco mesh application to a wreath. It has a very beautiful look. I really, really love this this method of applying deco mesh. I have a video, which I will list in my description box, with a tutorial, very slow and methodical. If you didn't get it this time, watch the video. I have one video that I dedicated completely to that deco mesh technique. All right, so now we're going to start on the sky here. And notice that I introduced one more type of deco mesh there, which I didn't in the materials segment that I covered the materials for the wreath. But I decided to use a deco mesh from Dollar Tree. Reason being, it adds some different blues to the sky. But I'm only using one piece per bundle. And I'm using the Hobby Lobby deco mesh, which is a little bit more of a sturdy deco mesh, 2 in the bundle. So there's going to be 3 pieces per bundle, and we're going to use the scrunch method. So you just place it down on the table and crawl up the deco mesh with your fingers, tips, so to speak. Stick it in your fingers. You can use a clip if you like. I just use my fingers. And I gather up that Deco mesh, stick it in between my two fingers, and the last piece. You're cutting 10-inch pieces, and you put 3 pieces per bundle. I'm going to take a pipe cleaner. I usually cut these in thirds when I do this particular blending of these bundles. It gives you just enough pipe cleaner to attach it to the wire wreath frame. Now we're going to start applying the bundles to this wreath frame. So you're going to take your little tails and you're going to just simply attach it to the wires. Give it a good twist on the back so it's secure. And each time I apply a bundle, I push it down again up against the previous loops or bundle that's on the wreath. Now we're going to use the 2 middle wires on that wreath form, and we're just going to go back and forth and back and forth. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to try to create the look of white clouds in that sky, if you will. So I brought out some Deco mesh that I had left over from a previous project, white Deco mesh from Dollar Tree. And this is the first time I've tried this, and I was actually pleased with the results. So in this particular bundle, I'm using all 3 of the Deco meshes, but when you apply the white Deco mesh to create a cloud, if you will, just use 1 piece of Deco mesh and combine it with 2 other colors, the blue or the two-tone blue and just the plain blue. I actually created 6 bundles that contained one of the white Deco mesh scrunches, if I can speak. Okay, and I think that looks pretty. I think it just kind of creates like a little, just a little impression or a look of white clouds. I like it. Okay, so we have our sky and our ocean all applied to the wreath. And here we have the mermaid that I decided to use. Now with that Waverly Snow White chalk paint, I painted the tail of the mermaid and also the tail of the wood piece that's just the fin. And we're going to be using one of those, which I just spoke of, and that's going to be inserted in the middle of the wreath, but in the back of the mermaid, which we'll talk about that later. So I'm using this mermaid, and I decided that this one fit best on the wreath, and that the other one would interfere with the gorgeous bow that we're going to be placing around 4 to 5 o'clock on that wreath. So I'm going to remove the burlap hangers on there, and here we have that container of pearls. Actually, it's half pearls, and it contains a number of different sizes, the smallest of which is as tiny as the sprinkles that you would sprinkle on a cupcake or a sugar cookie. The pearls are that small. It's crazy. So don't forget to paint the fins with Waverly Snow White chalk paint. I didn't show you that, but you do need to do that. I wanted to do that so I would have a white base in the area where I'm going to be applying the pearls on the mermaid tail and the other tail that's going to go in the back of the mermaid. All right, so we're going to trace around this mermaid from the waist up with a pencil, cut it out, and this is going to be Mod Podged. The scrapbook paper is going to be Mod Podged right to the wood cutout. Now I wanted to make this mermaid more of a silhouette. I elected not to define the hair or paint a face or anything of that nature. I wanted it to be more of like a silhouette. All right, so I placed, you can see that I painted the tail there. I placed the largest of the pearls on the two pieces. And I was going to take that little applicator there and use that to apply or to glue down the pearls, but that just wasn't a really great idea. So what I ended up doing was taking some Aleene's tacky glue, and I squirted some in, I did it in segments, and I squirted a few blobs, and then I took a sponge applicator, and I just created a palette of glue. And then what I did was I took my largest half pearls and I popped them down into the glue. And then I took my fingers and just sprinkled over the other much smaller size pearls, and they just stuck in the glue, which worked out really, really well. So there I am putting the larger, I wanted to put the large pearls down first and then drop the smaller little tiny pearls in between, just by sprinkling them over the area that I created the glue palette. And now I'm bringing in that. Now, when I opened up this container of pearls, the dividers in this container were not great, and everything just sort of meshed together. So my pearls all ended up mixed together. So basically I just took them in my fingertips and sprinkled them over. Kind of reminded me of last Christmas when I made a snowman tower, and I had snow stuck to my fingers, and this time I had little teeny tiny little pearls that were sticking to my fingers. It was kind of a headache, but I tell you, it was worth it because in the end, it just looks beautiful. All right, so we're going to make a mixed ribbon bow here. Now, I have bow tutorials that are slow and methodical, and those you should refer to if you want to learn how to make a bow like I make a bow. I will list those tutorials in the description box. This bow is going to be made at an accelerated pace. So I'm just going to suggest to you that you sit and watch those other 3 videos because they are very slow and methodical, and you'll be able to really grasp the technique of how I make bows. So what I'm creating here is a 6-loop bow, 3 loops on each side. And you notice my technique is a lot of twisting and folding over the loops. I hold everything secure and tight with my index finger and my thumb in the middle. And you can see here I've just created the base of the bow. I apply a pipe cleaner right down the center, turn it over, give it a good twist on the back. And this is the base to our mixed ribbon bow. We're going to be using 3 different ribbons on this bow. And again, please refer to those previous videos that I did, and that bow will become something you'll be extremely happy that you learned how to do. Okay, this is our next layer on that mixed ribbon bow, this gorgeous ribbon that I got on Amazon, perfect for a coastal wreath, especially for a mermaid wreath. Has some sparkle to it. It's wired, has a nice texture. I'm going to create another 6 loop bow, 3 loops on each side. Notice how I twist my ribbon, fold it over, how I create my loops evenly and symmetrically on either side. Again, this isn't a bow tutorial. I'm just allowing you to see how I did this, just for reference sake, but this is going to be a gorgeous bow. 3 loops on each side. Pipe cleaner down the middle, bring it around the back, twist it, and now those loops are secure. And bring the tail around, and we're going to cut that off from the spool. And that is layer number 2, which is going to be applied to the base, which we previously just did. And ribbon number 3 is that gorgeous, gorgeous ribbon that is just perfect for a mermaid wreath. The colors are exquisite. This is a hardy ribbon, very easy to work with. Again, I got this one on Amazon. I believe they have the same one on craftoutlet.com too, though. So I'm going to do another 3 loop on each side bow, or 6 loops altogether. But I'm going to make these loops just a little bit smaller. Now, you learned when you start watching my bow tutorials that you can just create all kinds of different variations in your loops and in your bows themselves. So you just have so much versatility in this type of technique in making bows. And I believe this is loop number 3. Okay. Now on this section of the bow, we're going to create 1 single loop down the middle. And now that's just a single loop that's going to go right down the middle of that bow. I also call it the button. We're going to secure this in the back first, though, before we do that single loop. All right, there is that single loop. I just turn it under, catch it with my finger and my index finger and my thumb. I showed you there twice. Make a loop, secure it down with my finger, with my thumb. And now I'm going to take that pipe cleaner from around the back, push it right through the button or that single loop, bring it around in the back, twist it, and now everything is secure. All 3 of these ribbons, or these sections of ribbons and loops, are going to go stacked on one another and secured by 1 pipe cleaner. Now I have my tail on top, so I need to bring that down to the bottom, and I just push it right through that single loop or that button on the top. And here we have the top tier of that 3 ribbon, mixed ribbon bow. Gorgeous. This one really had to be front and center and on top because it is just the most divine ribbon for this mermaid wreath. All right, now it's time to put all of these together. Now what I'm going to do is snip off the pipe cleaners on the back there and just kind of fold down the ends, and I'm going to start stacking it. And I'm going to be holding that very secure and tight as I put those together. And there's the base. And I'm pushing together really firmly in the middle with my thumb and my index finger. I want to be sure that my tails are divided down the middle because I'm going to be putting a pipe cleaner straight down the middle of that mixed ribbon bow. So see me dividing the tails there? And here goes that pipe cleaner right down the middle, through the button, pull it around the back, and I don't let go until I have that very secure. And I just twist it all together back there. And now everything is attached. And this is at the point at which you start shaping your loops. And that's the beauty of wired ribbon. We'll do a lot more shaping of that bow once it's on the wreath as well. But I can't resist doing it initially because it's part of my favorite part of bow making is the end when I get to just create that look that I was striving for. Oh, so pretty. Okay, now we're going to take our tails, and the way that I trim my tails, I do angles. I mean, a lot of crafters out there dovetail, and that's fine. You do you. Most of 98% of the time, I angle my tails. It's just my preference. And when I get them on the wreath, I like to take the little points of the angled tails and turn them up this way and that way. And now my bow is all prepared to go on my wreath. I have plenty of pipe cleaner in the back to attach it to the down into the Deco mesh to the wire wreath frame. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. And I'm showing you here how beautiful that blue scrapbook paper goes with that beautiful bow. Okay, now here's our pink ribbon. Now this isn't wired. This is just a kind of a netted ribbon. But I can tell you that this type of ribbon, you can also get this in other colors, white or, the blues color. I chose pink for this. I cut this in 6-inch pieces, and I take 2 pieces per bundle, and I just take a little pipe cleaner, just enough to secure it and attach it down into the wreath form. I'm just going to randomly put some bundles in the ocean part of that wreath. I ended up using 10 bundles of that particular ribbon. I'll put everything in the description box, everything I used, also the videos that I'm been suggesting that you look at for building other types of techniques in your crafting. Now I'm setting down on this wreath. I usually do a dry run, if you will, when I'm getting ready to glue things down. I kind of like to get an idea where I'm going to put things. So I started with those chunky, beautiful, big pearls. I also found these pearls these beads in my stash. I'm sure that I bought those at Hobby Lobby at some point in time. But I found those And I thought I would use those as well. Also, the iridescent beads that I got at Dollar Tree, those I also put in there. Now, after I decided about where I was going to place them, I ended up hot gluing those right onto the Deco mesh, and they'll adhere just fine. The pink ribbon there that I got in my hand, I just dig my fingers down into the Deco mesh, find a wire to attach it to, and just apply it. Just so that the little pieces are poking up. Kind of gives the illusion of coral. And now I'm showing this. I took this outside to use this Krylon Easy Tack adhesive spray, just for a little extra security to make sure those pearls are going to stick on there. Now I also did something on the fins of both of those pieces. I took my little glue applicator with the tiny stream point, and I created some lines in the fin. And then I took a little spoon. I can't see it too well there, but I just created the lines, the same lines that you saw on the wood cutout. And now I'm just taking some of those little fine, little teeny tiny baby pearls, just sprinkling them on there. It really added a nice touch. A little bit of a shimmer, and I did that to both sets. All right, so now I have my Mod Podge. I'm going to go ahead and adhere the fins as well as the top to the mermaid. Now you could use a generous amount of Mod Podge here. That scrapbook paper is very sturdy, so you don't have to worry about any bubbling or rippling. So just be sure you go all the way out to the edges on that top of that mermaid from the waist up. Now you will see in just a bit, after I applied the scrapbook paper that we cut out of the outline of her upper body, I decided to use the tiniest of those tiny pearls and just add those randomly throughout that area from her waist up. You'll see what I mean in a moment, but it just added something very pretty. I felt that it needed a little something up in that area. Now again, I wanted just a silhouette effect of this mermaid. So that's why I elected not to do hair or face or anything else on the top. Just these the tiny, tiny, tiny pearls. And I did use my little applicator with the tiny point to put those on. You'll see what I did in just a moment. And I press that down firmly. I'm going to do the same with the fins. And that pearl application on the fins, that was on the other fin as well, on both fins. And to press it down. Make sure everything's adhered. Make sure it's very straight. And here is those teeny, tiny pearls. You can see it when I turn it just the right way so the light hits it. I also took some time to, I didn't want to see a defining line where that scrapbook paper started, so I extended my pearls up over the line of that scrapbook paper so it would look very finished. So that's what I was doing there. And here we have this gorgeous wreath. Now, you'll see that I applied the bow around 3, 4, 5 o'clock. That was a big bow, so it took up 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now you can apply this mermaid by using a pipe cleaner and on the back of that mermaid, if you like, with a cable tie. But honestly, I just glued mine on. This is not a wreath that you're going to put outside. This is an indoor wreath. So I just used hot glue. And also the fin that I applied in the center of the wreath, I set it back in the wreath so it's poking up. Looks like the mermaid is going down in the water with the fins sticking up. That's so beautiful. I turned up the little tails of my bow, shaped everything beautifully. I put the pearl in the hand of the mermaid with E6000 just to be sure that it stayed nicely. There's my fin back there. I'm pointing that out. See how I set it back in there? I didn't put it right behind the mermaid. I put it back further. And that just looked absolutely gorgeous. I was showing you again. I may have mentioned that I got this at Michael's. I wasn't certain if I mentioned it, so I thought I would mention it again. Sorry if I'm repetitive. And here we have this absolutely gorgeous wreath. I love this. And I'm pointing to that pearl. She had a starfish, which I took off. It came with a starfish, but I wanted the pearl. And to see it in person, it's just, I don't know if the video does it justice. But it's absolutely beautiful. And here it is for the last time. Now you're seeing it in the natural light. You can see those little pearls on her upper body. Tell me what you think of this wreath. I hope you love it as much as I do. Okay, until next time, you take care.